this whole concept of becoming wildly wealthy, selling one thing to one person is really what got me to, my first 6-figure year. And, I've since now have multiple streams of income that have helped me scale, but you really need that foundational piece. You need to build and cultivate self-trust. You need to prove your method, prove that it works, and just go all in on it and know that a failed launch doesn't mean you failed. It just means you reworked the systems.
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the Quantum Coaching certification, and multiple 6-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Welcome back, Badass Manifestors, quantum coaches, all the big coach energy in here. Hello, welcome. Super excited for today's episode. I have another amazing guest today. Her name is Felicia Romero, and I'm super excited for you guys to just be part of this conversation. We talk all about how to become wildly wealthy selling one thing to one person, and it's such a good conversation. Felicia is truly amazing. She's like a reality TV star. She has been on, Lifetime. She has been on local TV networks. She has been on a show recently. Her most recent show was called Fit to Fat to Fit, that aired on Lifetime, where she had to gain and lose weight for her sister who lost over 80 pounds in the process. She's a regular on Fox, Arizona Family, CBS, NBC. She's kind of a big deal. And she started her business by opening up a gym 22 years ago, and over the years has built and ran gyms until 2 years ago when she sold Fit Method to create more time and freedom in her life and build her online business to help people all around the world. She mentors entrepreneurs and fitness coaches, helping them build their brand and their business online through her program, The Wealthy Wellness Coach. And she's the host of the Hi Felicia podcast and the founder of Luna True Nutrition. She's amazing, and I'm so excited for you to meet her. So without further ado, let's bring her on.
We'll get right into it.
Welcome, Felicia.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. We were just gabbing about how beautiful your hair looks right now. I know the audience probably can't see it, but we are into blowouts. We were talking about how we love getting blowouts, and then we don't wash our hair for weeks so that we can preserve the blowout.
Seriously, it's the best thing ever. If you haven't gotten yourself a blowout in a while, treat yourself. Seriously.
Oh, and then I'll do like a double shampoo. So I'll have them do 2 shampoos, and then just like really get into the scalp. It's so nice.
Honestly, I can't wash my hair like they can wash my hair. I really can't. I feel like it just doesn't come out the same. My hair just doesn't come out the same when I do it.
I don't know what it is. Like we both have access to the same tools. Like we both have access to like the same curling irons and things like that. But my curls never look like the way they do it.
Is your hair dry like this nice? Is it like,
you know what this is? I'm going to give you a little secret. Oh, I do have extensions, but I sleep with braids at night. So I do a braid on my right, and then I put like this, I have this special scrunchie that's like a sleep scrunchie, and then I braid my left, and then when I wake up and I let it go, it's just this really nice
it looks perfect.
Braid. Thank you. And then
you don't have any frizz in your hair. Like,
you know what? I don't anymore, but I used to. I remember when I was going through like puberty and like junior high school, I envied Alicia Silverstone's straight hair.
Oh my God, I know. Yeah.
Her straight hair, you know how we always want what we don't have. So like my hair was curly and frizzy, and I'm like, why can't it just be straight? And you know, what's so funny now is I'm engaged to my high school sweetheart, and we reconnected after 17 years.
Wow.
And he is so funny. He's like, I remember when you were in high school, you never wanted to get your hair wet. You were always like, don't get my hair wet. Cause the moment it got wet, it was like super curly. So there was a moment in time where I had the frizz and I had the curls, but I would say since my hormones sort of balanced out and everything, you know, all the growth, it's just wavy now. I would say there's not a lot of frizz or curl.
It looks so good.
Thank
So
you.
good.
Thank you.
I know that feeling in high school where you're just like, can't wet my hair.
I literally did. I was like terrified to get my hair wet. I don't know what it was. And then I remember in junior high, 7th grade, first hour was PE. And there was like a season of PE where we had swimming. Yeah. And I was like horrified. Like the whole day. Like, you know, and you're going through that phase too, where
it's such an awkward stage.
I did not love junior high. I loved high school. That's really where I kind of found my groove and found my click. But junior high, I didn't love it. I literally hung out in the bathroom during lunch. I was scared. I was so shy, didn't have any close friends. It was just an awkward time for sure.
Looking at you now, you would never know that that's like, you know, how you grew up, like feeling that way.
100%. I know I get a lot of like, you know, Facebook is perfect for this. Like people like, you know, reminisce, or they can contact you from, you know, junior high, high school. They're like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought you're doing what you're doing now on the news, talking and doing these things. Cause I was so terribly shy in junior high and high school, like literally did not want to make eye contact with the teacher. My palms would sweat for the fear of being called on. I didn't have a voice at all. Like I was terrified to speak. And so it's really been this, I would say I got my first practice at it in college. I got this internship, and it was like, they only picked 10 out of hundreds of people in this internship. And it was, so just to give you a little context, I have a bachelor's in political science. So I went to Arizona State, was studying law, was going to be a lawyer before I found fitness. And I know we're going to get into all of that, but I remember winning and like beating out all of these other students for this internship position. And part of the internship is I had to speak in front of, they call it a caucus, which is like, I was a Democratic intern. So I had to speak in front of all of these legislators. I had to summarize bills, and then I had to get up in front of everyone and read. I literally threw up every time I knew I was going to speak, until it just wasn't hard anymore. And so, you know, it's a skill like anything else. Entrepreneurship is a skill.
Yes.
You know, setting routines and habits is a skill. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. I still have speaking engagements and things like that. And I still get the fear. And I think that's just natural, especially when you care about something, but it's not, I'm able to manage it now. And I'm able to really like hone in and have like tools now to help me with my anxiety and things like that. But yeah, I remember that was like my first shot at like really speaking in public, and it was to a bunch of politicians. So yeah, it really kind of honed my skill.
You did. And you didn't, it's like you almost didn't have a choice, because I feel like we're always being molded for who we're becoming. And like you were being molded for what you do now, obviously, even though it was a really long time, well, not a really long time ago, but a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Preparing you.
For sure. And like, even I think about college, like I have a bachelor's and I have a master's. Obviously, you know, I could have been successful without the schooling, but I look at the schooling as like, gosh, it prepared me for a lot of things. Like, for example, speaking in public and all of those things. So I definitely don't see any sort of regret in that, or I don't take it for granted either. It definitely awarded me a lot of different skills that I still use today. So yeah.
So cool. I feel like it's so relatable too, for like the entrepreneur who has that fear of putting themselves out there and being visible. It's like, we've all been there on our journey.
100%. It's like all of those thoughts that pop in, like, who am I? What am I? Who am I to be doing this? I mean, I literally felt this. So I know we always go through these levels of up levels essentially. And I've kind of dove into the big leap again, because I've been experiencing a little bit of that up level, that growth, that expansion. And I'll give you a perfect example. I launched this new program called the Wealthy Wellness Coach, you know, becoming wildly wealthy, selling one thing to one person. And
which is what we're talking about today.
Yeah, because what we were going to talk about today. But I launched it off with a free masterclass, 2-day masterclass on all the things on how to ditch trading time for money. It's really geared towards fitness coaches, wellness coaches, health coaches, because I was in that space, because I own gyms, traded time for money. It's just not scalable, right? And so I went all in on this launch. Like if you can see to my right here, I have a huge whiteboard with like launch strategy, all the things that I was doing. I went all in. I got 110 registered, the most that I ever had registered for a masterclass organically. I've never really run ads or anything like that. And I had a 60% show up rate, which is huge. Like usually it's about 30% show up rate to these like masterclasses, webinars.
That's amazing.
And as I was like getting ready that morning, seeing all of the registered, seeing all the people sharing, I had this moment that when I was getting ready that morning, knowing I was going live that day, where I had this like fear of, Felicia, you don't need to do this. Like you make a good living. You're comfortable where you're at. Like you don't need to show up and do all of these things. Like who are you? Like you're fine where you're at. Right. And I think whenever we're on that next level where we know we're ready for more and that growth and the expansion and to hold more space, not only for community and people that are coming into our world, but even just holding space for the amount of income that you know you can potentially bring in and what I have my sights set on. It's like these limiting beliefs want to stop you. Like, yes. It's okay to be where you're at. You don't need any more. And it was just the fear talking. And luckily I'm aware of it and I could like spot it and be aware of it and just like, oh, that's interesting. That feeling that just came up. I know that that's fear. And I know that I'm on this trajectory of next level. And so it was really interesting to have those feelings. And I think we all, no matter what level you're at, whether you're just starting your business, whether you're at your first, 6-figure year, now you want to make 7 figures, you're going to continue to feel those feelings. And it's up to you to be aware of them and work through them if that is your journey. So
I'm so glad you shared that, because I think that it's so relatable, especially someone who has the success that you have, to be like, yeah, I still have that fear pop up. Like that is so awesome that you're willing to just be vulnerable and share that, because I feel like most people would look at you or anyone at the level that you're at and be like, oh, it's easy for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. And I've had people say that to me and it really makes me angry because it's like,
I know
you only known where I've been to get
right. We all have a story.
Yeah. We all have a story. And it's like, we all have this relatable story that we can share that where we've been. And so, it was so real. It was such a real feeling of like, gosh, Felicia, you don't need to do this. You're fine where you're at, and also too, the fear of, all of these coaches, all of these entrepreneurs are in there learning from me. Am I going to be able to deliver? And are they going to get value from it? So there's that fear of like, oh my gosh, all of these people are coming and are they going to get value? Are they going to like it? And so, and I was even vulnerable on the masterclass. If I'm being honest, I jumped on and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most amount of people that I've had in a masterclass. My palms are sweating right now. And there's a mixture of excitement and fear. And I think that really also helped people. It was just, again, there was a lot of responses and a lot of people engaging. And I think that helped build just that relatable community within all of the people that were there wanting to learn the same thing. So, there is power in just being honest and just telling people how you feel instead of trying to fake it till you make it, right? You don't have to do that. You can literally just be completely open and honest and vulnerable, and people will relate with you.
They really will. And they'll support you. Like, I know that you have a really strong fitness background, and I come from a yoga background, and in my yoga training, people don't realize what it takes to get up in front of people and teach a class. Like, it's actually like, if you've never done it before and you're in person and you're leading a yoga class or a fitness class or any kind of class, it's scary. It's really, really scary. And I would get up and I would be so nervous. And my teacher would give me live feedback. And she would be like, okay, so there's something in the way for you right now. What is it? Just say it out loud. And I'm like, I'm nervous. And she's like, okay, great. You're nervous. Now everybody knows it. Okay, cool.
You don't have to assign anything to it.
Exactly. It was so freeing to just be like, I'm nervous. And you just name it. And it's so like relatable for people because everyone gets freaking nervous.
Yes. Can I also mention something really quick and something that was really helpful for me? I love that you said that. And, that feeling, because I know we talked about goddess yoga when you were on my podcast, and I recently had held a workshop. I never taught yoga. Now, goddess yoga is not your traditional yoga. We're not doing like we're not doing all the downward dogs and all of those things. And so, it's different. It's like a mixture of, for those that are listening that may not know, it's like a mixture of like belly dancing, sacral movements, hip movements, really activating your sacral, and just different. And so they incorporate a lot of the belly dancing and things like that into it. So I've been a coach for 15 plus years. I can count the reps. I can hand someone some weights and develop protocol when it comes to weightlifting and strength training. But like the yoga was totally different. And what I noticed, when I taught it, and this is what a great reminder for anyone out there who is like experiencing these things, but when you get in your head, you'll start to doubt yourself. You'll start to feel very rigid. We have to get into our bodies. Mm-hmm. And the moment you get out of your head of what are people thinking? What, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right move? Oh, should I hold a little bit longer for this? When we get so in our head, and I realized that first session, that workshop I taught, I was so in my head. I had a piece of paper in front of me with the instructions. I had a laptop next to me showing me, versus just being in my body.
Yeah.
Being in my body and feeling the movements, Totally. And so there is like a lot of, there's like valuable lessons with that. It's
my God.
Getting out of our head and getting back into our bodies of why we are doing what we're doing.
I love that you said that. Yeah. And just to piggyback off that, my teacher would say, life's not happening in here in your head. It's happening out here. Mm-hmm. Obviously in our bodies too, but it's like being with the people. If you can be grounded in your body and you can be present with the room, you'll know what the room needs. And I feel like that can so easily translate to the online space too. Mm-hmm. Because even though you're not in a room full of people, like if you're on a live video and there's, 5 to 10 to 20 people on your video or more, sometimes it could feel like you're just talking to yourself because you're like looking at yourself. Right. Mm-hmm. But like, if you can just be with the people, kind of get yourself out of the way, stop worrying about what your face looks like or what your head, like whatever you look like, and be with them, man, there's a lot that can get transmitted that way.
100%. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. It's always just great reminders. Sometimes you just have to hear it and then, be aware of it and then just remember it when it comes out for you, So.
Yeah. So good. I love that we both had that experience. I mean, it's really challenging when you're up there teaching and it's a quiet room.
Yeah.
And you're just like, feels like you're just talking and talking and talking and talking and nobody's responding. And you're like, are you liking this?
I know. That's why, like, for me, I'm really big on like facial expression and watching how people are doing. So I can pick up on that usually, but yoga, it's a little bit harder sometimes because sometimes their heads are down or they're not necessarily looking at you, or maybe their eyes are closed. So yeah, it's definitely can be nerve wracking. And then you have the silence where no one is speaking, like, should I be saying something right now? Like,
like, or something's coming through and you're like, ooh, should I share this? I don't know how it's going to come out, but I want to share it, but I don't know if I should. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I also felt that way. And I don't know if you felt this way when I first started to lead Zoom calls. Like when I would have my programs and people would be on the Zoom and in the Zoom boxes, it was similar.
Yes, that is so true. So similar is
you can't really, you don't know what they're thinking.
You don't know what they're doing and what they're doing. Yeah. They could like completely have the screen, like doing something else on their computer. Yeah. So yeah, I 100% agree. It was different too. Cause I had the last couple of years stopped doing a lot of in-person stuff, obviously, and just moving to the virtual space. You do get a lot of that as well, for sure.
Yeah. So tell me about this concept that you've created. Cause I really resonated with it around like selling one thing to one person.
Yes. It's honestly bringing me back to my foundation. Like when I sold my gyms, to give people a little context, I've been in the fitness industry for 15 plus years. I opened up my first gym at the age of 22. I was a junior, almost senior in college. And I remember I found this little space. I was with a partner and it was a little 1,500 square foot space. You don't get this now, but literally the owner of the facility, the building was like, oh, you can rent it for $1 a square foot. And maybe you take me as the client and you train me for free. And I was like, deal. Like you don't get $1 a square foot anywhere anymore. So I want to just say that it was like such a great like segue into actually having a space and starting a gym. And so that was my first gym. And over the course of 15 years, I opened up 2 more.
What was it called?
It was called Fit Method. So Felicia Romero's Fit Method. And then the last one, and they all sort of changed through time, but it ended up being a membership model in the end, very similar to that of like an Orange Theory, for those that may know, like Orange Theory or F45 or anything like that. It was very much membership based, and classes and group classes and all of that. So I sold in 2017. And again, it's just more of that, like wanting to pivot and really not finding my passion anymore with that. And I wasn't a great delegator at the time. Sometimes I wish what I know now versus what I know then, I wish I could take some of these skills I know now and I would have delegated a lot better. I wouldn't have burned myself out. I wouldn't have subscribed to hustle culture and really just burn myself out essentially. And so when I sold in 2017, I had also got back together with my high school sweetheart. So he was my first everything, and he has a son. So I have a stepson. And I also realized too that I wanted more time freedom. I wanted more freedom with family. Before that I was single and I could be at the gym all day, every day, 60 hours a week. I usually would bring my dogs to the gym, and it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be able to like cook dinner at night. And I want to feel that, I want to be that. And so I started dabbling in the online space, hired my first mentor in 2017. And it was learning this concept of selling one thing to one person. And, I kind of lost my way along the way. And I've had mentors over the years of, you start, and I'm very much a creator. So I love creating, programs. I love creating, concepts, and I love launching and all of those.
What's your human design?
My human design is a manifesting generator.
That makes perfect sense then. Yeah.
Manifesting generator. So I sort of got lost along the way, but what I found, what really got me to my consistent 10K, 15K, 20K months to be able to scale was really focusing on one person, one niche, that one person that I know I can help transform, and selling that one thing that's going to help them with that one transformation and that one signature program that's going to help you scale beyond. And that's what really helped me create the foundation. So what I found with a lot of new coaches coming in the mix is they didn't know who they helped. They didn't know how they helped them. And they just kept creating with no real strategy, not really, and then they would get frustrated when they're launching these things online. Like, oh, I have a great in-person clientele and people come to me in person, but online it didn't translate because they thought, well, I could just, launch a 12-week program and people are going to sign up. Well, that doesn't happen, as you know, being in the online space. And so this whole concept of becoming wildly wealthy, selling one thing to one person, is really what got me to, my first 6-figure year. And, I've since now have multiple streams of income that have helped me scale, but you really need that foundational piece. You need to build and cultivate self-trust. You need to prove your method, prove that it works, and
get those transformations along the way.
Go all in on it, and know that a failed launch doesn't mean you failed. It just means you rework the systems, you rework your strategy, and you get clear on your niche, and you get clear on your programs, and you just keep working it. So that's the idea behind this program.
I'm obsessed, absolutely obsessed with it. And I'll tell you why, because I was very similar, where I got so lost along the way. Like, I'm also a creator. I'm not a manifesting generator, but I get ideas, and I have like squirrel brain sometimes. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And I want to do that. I want to do 50 projects at one time. And it's it's not sustainable. And they're doing construction. If you guys can hear it at my house, I have no control. So you might hear it. So when I was finding my way in my business, as we all do, there was a lot of programs going on. And it was too much for me to manage. It was too much for my energy. And I just want everyone to know that there's a million ways to grow your business. And you might be fine with having an ascension model where you have a lot of different programs happening. But one day I was like, no, I'm done with all of this. I want one program for one person, just like you're saying. Like, I never put it the way that you said it, but that was my desire. Was like, I want to scale my business with one program for one person, for one problem, for one solution, like all of it. And I'll tell you, it's changed my whole life. It changed my whole business.
Yeah, 100%. Because you're able to put your focus in on that. And like you said, if you are that person that wants the constant creation, what I found too in the last 2 years, since I have been really kind of diving out and launching multiple things, multiple programs, is again, I started going back to what got me uninterested in my gym was the burnout. I was like just exhausted because a lot of what I do is organic reach. And so I don't know, for those who are listening, have ever experienced this, but the constant, now I love content creation, but I don't necessarily love always launching. I love to create, fun content and obviously content that solves a problem and creates value and education. But I also love to know that I can create content that's just creating content with no necessarily intention of signing people up to programs, just because I like to do it. And with like my program, the Wealthy Wellness Coach, I'm able to like hone in on that one person and like sell that one thing, because that's the thing that's able to scale essentially, So with that signature program or your unique framework, which is I'm sure your academy, you are able to scale fairly quickly because you're able to reach a lot more people when you focus in on that one person versus trying to help everyone, right? And if you chose, and because you have such a powerful brand, Ashley, if you wanted to, and I'm sure you've thought about this, or like if you wanted to host a mastermind, you could, and you have an awesome community that you can offer that to because you put so much work in that. If you wanted to, create your line of mugs, quantum coaching mugs, like you could do that, and you have people that will buy it because your brand is strong. But the signature program is the thing that allows you to really create the income and the desire that you want. And then obviously you can have other things that you launch if you choose. I've been able to launch multiple things over the years in terms of like having different business models. So, I have that signature program, the Wealthy Wellness Coach. It is a group program. You're also able to scale. But then I also have a mastermind that I launch twice a year with a business partner, and we love it. And it's very intimate, and, it ranges anywhere from 10 to 15 women. That's really nice. And then we're able to also create that sort of community with those women. And then I do have a private mentorship that is premium prices. So I know that the women that really want to work with me will pay those prices, so yeah, it's just being smart. But your signature program should be the one thing that really allows you to scale in your income.
Totally. I completely agree with what you're saying. It's like, once you have that one big thing in place, then you can get creative with having, like, if you want to do a mastermind that lights you up with a business partner that is so aligned, that's beautiful, and then having obviously like your higher level one-on-one containers and all of that. And I think that there's just so many people out there that are teaching other coaches that they have to have, 5 signature programs or launch, every 2 months in their business. And
yeah,
I really what I hope that everyone gets from this conversation is like, you can do it in a less like hustle culture way and still make a huge impact,
100%,
a huge income, a beautiful income.
Yeah. And again, this is a perfect example, is finding what works well for you. And I get, me being in the fitness industry for so long, a cookie cutter diet or your next diet isn't going to be the thing. It's really finding what works best for you. And so I'll give you an example. The last 2 years I've been investing in mentors. I did Jen Kennedy's mastermind last year. I was in a 9-month mastermind. And then I'm in a program with another woman. Her name's Stephanie. She's a mentee of Melanie Ann Layer, if you know who that is. And so like, she's making like, she just made her first $1 million month last month.
I know exactly who she is. Yeah. Okay. I'm like, how do you have 1 million programs? Like,
I know. And she creates so much. She's launching constantly. Perfect example. I'm like, wow, my mentors, I'm learning from these women, I'm paid to be in their energy. They are launching all the time. This is what I need to do. And I did it. And don't get me wrong, it was great for the time being. But what I found was, it wasn't really for me, right? It's just not something. And again, this goes back to find what works for you. For me and my energy, I love to put in that one thing. Not only will I have deeper transformations with the women that I work with, because it is that one thing, and my focus is on that one thing versus I got to think about what I'm launching next month and the following month. And the following month. Again, there's women that
the bandwidth of that is like, you're getting stretched so thin.
Yeah. And I have a podcast, you know, I have a family, and I also like, don't want to always show up on social media and IG lives all the time. You know, I kind of find that my energy is best served in other ways. And so like for me, I don't want to constantly launch. I'd rather have that energy into the women that have already committed and invested in my programs, because then I can give more to them. And so it's really that fine balance. But again, finding what works for you. So I tried it and I did it, and it allotted me, yes, a great living, but I found that it sacrificed a lot for me as well. And this year I was like, I want to go back to my roots. I want to go back to my roots of that one thing, that one program that creates this deep transformation, and go all in on it. And that's where I'm at now. So, and I still have them as mentors. I still look, you know, that's so great. But again, it's back to the what works for you and going
and your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. And like ultimately what you value as a human.
Absolutely.
You know, like even when you were hustling at the gym and burning yourself out, you're like, I want to come home and make dinner. Like that's so simple, but it's a big deal. Like you value that time with yourself and with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that you gave that example, because I think that a lot of that was kind of what I was pointing to, is like the people that are just in constant launch mode, and like new coaches think that they have to do that. Yeah. So we're busting myths here. You don't have to if you don't want to.
You don't have to if you don't want to. And again, if you love it and your energy holds up and you're able to have space for that, go for it, you know, totally go for it. But if you're on the other end and you're like, oh, I'm finding that this is really draining me and it's really becoming like very overwhelming, you can create the business and life that you desire. You don't have to create a life by default anymore. We literally get to create a life by design, all of us. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
How many, like, I think that we all have a business journey. And like you said, like you were, you know, you started with the one program with one transformation for one person. And then you kind of went into launch mode of like all these different things. And then you came back to your roots. And what would you say to the person right now who might be in that journey of like feeling a little bit lost or not really sure, you know, what is their signature program? How do you figure out what that is? Loaded question.
That's a really, really good question. In figuring out what that signature program, it's really going to be, okay. So to give you an example, the Wealthy Wellness Coach is literally helping women. And there are men, actually. I know I market, this is so crazy, but I do market to women, but I have men that are signing up for the program, which is pretty interesting. But it's really that person, you know, so this signature program, the Wealthy Wellness Coach, was literally when I hosted my master classes and I'm speaking to them, I was like speaking to myself 8 years ago. So it's really going to be, you know, you and your journey, what you have been through. We have another person who signed up for the program. His name's Eric, and he used to be a pastor, and he went through this 100-pound weight loss. And now he reached out. He's like, Felicia, I want to create a program that helped people just like me. He had gone through a divorce. He had gone through all of these things, and, you know, his church closing down or something like that. And he's like, I want to create this program. And I went through this awesome transformation. That is his program. Right now, it's just, you know, really honing in on the deliverables and what you want to do with it. But that is the idea. That is the why. So oftentimes it's us, it's who we are, what lights us up. And also kind of play around, like what can you talk about for hours and hours and hours? Like I can work into and talking with wellness coaches and speaking with them on one-on-one calls or group calls. The hour will pass and I'm still energized. I'm not drained when I'm speaking to them. Right.
Oh, that's such a good, like clue.
Yeah. Like I can talk about these things for hours, and I feel like it comes to me very, very easily. And I relate with what they're going through. Like, oh, Felicia, like I don't want to take another one-on-one client because I find that I'm just working so in my business and I can't think bigger picture on my business. Well, it's because they're still trading time for money. So I can relate to that. And I'm able to give them sound advice, you know, on how to move forward. So oftentimes it's you 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. It's something that really lights you up and that you really, really enjoy talking about, and you can see yourself talking about and teaching for the next couple of years. Because again, I'm all about that pivot too. Like whenever you feel that pivot, I say go for it. But, you know, those are the two clues that I would say to really look for.
I love that. Those are so good. And it's like the most natural thing that we don't think about usually.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
we're always like searching, but it's like right in front of your face.
It's right in front of your face because we think it's like we have to pick the right thing. Like, what is
Yes,
the right
right.
answer? Oftentimes too, many of us are looking for permission.
We really are.
Looking for permission of like, do you think this is good enough? You know, and this is oftentimes too why people hire mentors where, you know, I love to coach and I love to mentor. I don't like to make the decision, obviously, for my client. I'm like, so that's why questions are really important to ask and like what lights you up. But we're oftentimes just looking for permission for the right thing to do and to go for it, right? When in actuality, we can cultivate that self-trust within ourselves. We just have to, again, hone that skill. And many of us are lacking that self-trust that it's already within us, that we know.
That is such a beautiful point. Like I think that is definitely something that you gain as an entrepreneur, is like building that muscle of self-trust. Is like, I don't know if it ever is like fully developed, but you get there. Every decision you make, you're building the trust, you know, and you're honing that skill. Cause I think it is also a skill to like trust yourself.
Yeah. And you're right. It is always there. Again, hence the the feelings that came up for me prior to my masterclass.
Right.
Oh, Felicia, you don't need to be doing this. Like, oh, I recognize that. The thing about entrepreneurs though, and those that have flexed that muscle, is they recognize the fear, but they don't let it take the driver's seat.
Yes.
They recognize it and they let it like, hey, because fear's going to be there. Fear's going to come along for the ride. The key is to not let it take the wheel. And that's where we get to really then, you know, control the outcomes of what's going to happen.
Yeah. So good. So good. So I ask everyone this, and I want to ask you, what makes Felicia a badass manifester?
Ooh, that's a great question. What makes me a badass manifester? I think it's, again, coming back to this relentless resiliency that I've created over the years. If we were to really like get deep in my story, and we don't have hours and hours here for me to get into it, but like, you know, been through a lot, as we all have. And I think for me, you know, I've always had this vision that I've always held strong. I'll give you a perfect example. I saw the vision of my gym in my head. I could see the name, I could see the building, I could see how it looked inside. And to actually create the thing, the tangible thing, and bring it to life was such a powerful feeling, right? And that's just been the journey as I've continued on this journey of life, whether it's pivoting, whether it's starting something new. I could hold the vision. And because I am a big dreamer, and I think my naivete sort of got me through my 20s of like not really knowing the risk or like thinking about the risk, because I held so strong to the vision. And so I think it's my perseverance and my resiliency has allowed me to be this badass manifester.
And I'm just going to add your vision too, because I think that that's a big part of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. So what would be your advice to someone who is putting in all the work and they see the vision, and maybe they're not at that place where they're like, this is happening, you know, like what words of encouragement do you have for them to keep going?
Yeah. Those are the men and women that need the evidence first, right? They need the evidence to see that it's going to work. And I want to tell you that you are worthy beyond your bank account. You are worthy beyond the clients signing up for your programs, and hold true to the things that truly bring you joy and light you up. And what you're doing right now is bringing you joy and lighting you up. And what you're letting the outcomes or the expectation bring you down. Let go of the expectation, let go of your outcome. Your fear of disappointment is keeping you from showing up the way that you need to show up. So, you know, stay true to that. And that's the advice I would give the woman listening to this right now. And she's still doing the thing and she's not seeing the outcome she desires because there's no evidence yet. It will come.
Those are some wise words. Yeah. Those are some wise, beautiful words. Yeah. Thank you so much. So of course, can you share a little bit about your program, and if anyone's listening who might be interested in it, like tell us a little bit about it, and then how they can reach out to you to connect with you about it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's called the Wealthy Wellness Coach. It's a 4-month business accelerator and it's a group program. So the awesome thing about this program and the added value that I think is just like bar none is you have access to a branding expert and a copywriter coach, specifically for wellness. And so my branding coach, she has created exclusive website templates and plug and play social media graphics for people that join. So, I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the cost of a website designer could be upwards of $5,000 to $10,000, right?
That's
so you're going to have
accurate.
access to that with exclusive templates. She's created, gosh, I think a dozen templates for my community where they can choose from luxury brand to like energy to poppy to like whatever your brand might be. And then, so it's 4 months. You're going to basically, figure out your niche. So who you help, how you help them. We're going to create your unique framework. You're going to learn my 3-part attraction system to enroll clients sort of on autopilot each month and just to create this attraction system essentially, along with nailing your marketing and messaging. Because let's be honest, that's where we kind of get stuck is the messaging piece. I don't know how to talk to my ideal client. Usually for a lot of coaches, they are creating content that they're either not talking about the thing that they're selling or offering, or they're not sharing their story. And they're also not positioning themselves as the expert and authority.
Yes.
Because again, the limiting beliefs, the imposter syndrome start to pop in. So there is some modules around mindset and all of those things, but yeah, it's an all-in-one program, exclusive program that is literally going to take you from your unique framework to then launching your program and creating not just 10K months, but 10K months consistently, because you want to just make 10K for 1 month and then and then you don't do it again. Like I will show you how to consistently create those months and then, scale that if that's.
Let me show you how to abracadabra.
I love it. I think I've even made a couple reels with those.
You have to. Yes, you have to. Okay. This sounds amazing. If you're interested in learning more, where can everyone find you?
You honestly can I hang out on Instagram a ton. You can DM me the word wealth. And then you're going to have access to my free mini course because I am all about nurturing the audience first. I want you to see the value. So I'm not going to ask you to just, hey, buy the thing. Like I want to give you something in return. So you're going to have access to my 2-day live mini course that's going to teach you and give you a ton of value and show you the framework. And if you choose to move forward, amazing. You'll get to do that through application, but you at least get some tangible things that you can start implementing and you can get to know me a little bit more.
I was just going to say, get in her vibe, everyone. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. I love this episode. I think this is such a good conversation. And I know all of our listeners are loving it. And we would love to know, like, what is your biggest takeaway from this episode? So feel free to tag Felicia and I, or DM us and let us know so that we can just support you in whatever your, aha moment is. So share that with us and we'll see y'all on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.
Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at manifestwithash. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.